There is a monster that never announces itself. It does not crash through doors. It does not roar. It arrives as tension, as pressure beneath thought, as something unfinished that refuses to sleep. You sense it in the quiet moments. Before distraction, before explanation, most people mistake silence for safety. They believe that if nothing speaks, nothing is wrong. But ancient wisdom teaches the opposite. Silence is not absence. It is revelation. And what reveals itself in silence is not there to destroy you. It is there because it has been ignored too long. In the oldest stories, monsters were not hunted first. They were listened to. Villages built near mountains spoke of creatures in low voices, not from fear, but respect. The elders taught that monsters emerged only when balance was broken. A beast was never born screaming. It was formed in neglect, in truths avoided, in warnings dismissed as inconvenience. When crops failed or storms came early, the villagers did not sharpen weapons. They gathered in silence. They asked what had been ignored. The monster was never the enemy. It was the message. But as generations passed, listening became uncomfortable. Noise replaced ritual. Distraction replaced reflection. And so the monsters changed. They grew closer, they moved inside. The whisper begins quietly. So quietly you mistake it for mood, a resistance when you wake. A subtle unease during still moments, a tightening when the world goes quiet. The whisper does not accuse, it suggests. Slow down, look closer. Something matters here, but suggestion is easy to ignore. You label it fatigue, stress, overthinking. You add noise, music, scrolling, movement. The whisper recedes, but it does not leave. It waits beneath habit, beneath routine. It knows time is on its side. What is ignored does not disappear. It transforms. The whisper, left unheard, thickens. It gains weight, shape. It becomes the monster, not a creature of claws and teeth, but of avoidance, of tension stored in the body, of thoughts that circle without landing. The monster is the truth you postponed, the boundary you never set, the grief you labeled as productivity. It feeds on denial. Every time you say later, every time you choose noise over knowing, you feel it most when nothing demands your attention, when the screen goes dark, when the room is still. The monster does not attack then, it watches, waiting for recognition. Every story reaches a point where avoidance fails. The noise no longer works. The distractions lose flavor. The body insists. This is the descent. You stop running, not because you are brave, but because you are tired. You sit with the silence you avoided. You let the discomfort breathe. The monster steps closer, not to harm, to be seen. Its form is familiar. It carries your voice, your memories. The descent is not dramatic. It is quiet, honest, and terrifying only because it is true. At the deepest point, the monster shows you a mirror, not of who you pretend to be, but of what you have carried. You see the ignored signals, the small betrayals of self, the moments you chose comfort over integrity. The monster does not judge, it reflects. And in that reflection, something breaks open. You realize the monster was never separate. It was your unlistened voice, your unmet need, your suppressed knowing. The fear dissolves into understanding. The monster shrinks, not from force, but from recognition. Listening changes everything. You do not defeat the monster. You integrate it. The return is subtle. You move differently. You pause before noise. You listen sooner. You honor discomfort as information. The monster no longer needs to grow. Its message has been received. What once haunted becomes guidance. This is the quiet power of awareness. Nothing mystical, nothing dramatic. Just honesty practiced consistently. Psychologically, the monster represents suppressed signals. Emotions ignored become anxiety. Boundaries unspoken become resentment. Modern life trains avoidance, constant input, endless distraction. Listening feels inefficient, but it is essential. A modern example is burnout. The whisper begins as fatigue. Ignored, it becomes collapse. Actionable guidance is simple but difficult. Schedule silence, not as escape, as inquiry. Ask one question without answering immediately. What am I avoiding hearing right now? Then listen. The monster you pretend not to hear is not your enemy. It is your earliest warning.